So welcome back to a new Game Stuff episode, and there's a few things to go through here, and I want you to hang out to the end. I'm going to talk about a few other really interesting things that, you know, I got back in 1984, and I'm kind of revisiting again, so stay tuned for all of it, because it's always about new games, but it's also about books and movies and music and things like that, and I explore a lot of different things in these episodes, and to be honest with you, I love doing these episodes. I really, really do. For some reason, these feel like I'm coming home when I'm doing these episodes. I feel like I can talk about all of these things in a down-to-earth, really kind of emotional way. I really, really kind of like that. We'll start off with the first game, and that is Strange Journey Redux, the Shin Megami Tensei series. This is a remake, a remaster per se, of the original game that came out on the DS. And I want to say this, I never played it, and when I did my collection video on my Shin Megami Tensei collection, everybody was saying, where the hell is the DS game? You don't have it and all that. So this game just came out. I bought it. I wasn't sent a code or anything like that. I bought it, and I've got something to admit. I have not played it. And do you know why? Because my wife stole it. As soon as I got it, it was sitting on the table. She's like, oh, what's this? This looks really cool. I'm like, yeah, I hear it's really amazing. And she's like, oh, wow, do you mind if I give it a go? And I'm like, okay. And anyway, she's been playing it. What's her verdict so far? She really likes it. She thinks the music is really good. She's liking it overall. She just said to me, it's a bit repetitive in that you're going around a big maze and, you know, you're fighting monsters and recruiting monsters. And I think she's liking it though. She's still only maybe about 5 hours in. So this is not my game anymore, but I'll have to give it a shot when she gets through it. Now, here's one from my Die-Hard Game Fan magazine days. Back in the 90s, the late 90s, I was reading about a game that was not coming to America at all. And it never has. I recently, because I just did some research before coming in here, there's an English translated patch of this game, and it's called Wonder Project Jade. I remember seeing this, and I was like, oh my god, this looks phenomenal. It's like playing a cartoon. Remember, this is in the days of the Super Nintendo. So this game looked incredible, and you play as a robotic boy, and you've got to interact with your environments, and the graphics were so phenomenal at the time. I can't tell you, like looking at the anime, like looking characters and how big they were on the screen, I was like in awe. And this is a lot of why I was very, very jealous about the Japanese and some of the games they were getting, and a lot of the games we weren't getting, which were most of them. And I was always really frustrated about this. And I got this game for $10 on eBay maybe about a month ago, and it just arrived probably about a week ago. And I was just like, oh, this is so fantastic. And yeah, I'm going to try it out. I'll be capturing footage for it, so you'll be able to see what it looks like here. And I'm getting some games like from my like memory of wanting them so badly back then. And now I kind of have them, and to be honest with you, it feels really good. I'm really happy to have this game. This is like one from my younger days of, across the pond. I could never own it. It was like $100 back then. Hey, $10 on eBay now. That's the way it should be. Now, I just did a video on the Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection. And, honestly, I couldn't say enough great things about it. It is one of my favorite collections for Street Fighter that I've ever played. I stand behind my review 100%, and a lot of people in the comments were saying, oh my god, the online is terrible, it's chaotic. I just want to say, I still haven't played the online. I said in my review that when I got the review code of the game, there was hardly anybody online. You couldn't fight against anybody. So I couldn't do that bit in the review, unfortunately, but I trust everybody. I'm going to see what the online code is like. I'll probably do that in maybe the next couple of weeks. But what I will say is, I'm not justifying it by any means. That's terrible if the net code is bad. I agree with you. But why I got these games is I never played them online when I was younger. They weren't online games to play. They were games for me just to play with my friends. And that's why I got them. There's a lot of memories for me in these collections. And I stand behind my reviews so much that I was sent a review code, but I physically bought 2 copies of the game myself. I bought a PS4 version and a Switch version, so I could have a handheld version, which is console, and just a good PS4 version as well. I couldn't resist. This is one collection that I was like, these games are so phenomenal. I'm such a big part of my video gaming life that I have to own 2 copies of them. I do. And so, yeah, I really recommend the game. I also recommend the Genesis collection. That is also, if you like old school Genesis Mega Drive games, that's also another one to think about picking up. And it's kind of funny, I'm picking up a few games. Like, most of these games are from the past. Even, Strange Journey was on the DS type of thing. Here's another game this is from my recent past. Shantay Half-Genie Hero on the Nintendo Switch. I had to get this. I played it on PS4, and this game is absolutely fantastic. One of my favorite action RPGs in the last few years. It was just like a return to Wonder Boy for me. It really was in that regard, and the graphics, the music in this game is so good. And I just had to get this. I was like, I love this game so much that I've got to have it on a portable machine. It's so funny how I refer to the Switch now as just a portable machine, but of course it's a console only. But when I'm thinking about it, I'm like, I can take it on the go, and that's one of the great things with the Switch. And I can't wait to play this game again because it's that good. The gameplay is solid. You change into a lot of different forms and can traverse different levels and go through, use different forms to unlock different things in different levels. It's gaming heaven. It really is. I just absolutely love this so much. Now we come to this little box here. This is the GCHD high definition, the GameCube high definition adapter. This adapter allows you to play Model 1 GameCubes only. Gotta say that. Model 1 GameCubes only. It allows you to put this adapter in the back, put your HDMI and attach it to your TV. So it makes your GameCube HDMI ready for a modern TV. And I'll be honest, I asked for this from the company Castlemania Games. I asked for this because I wanted it. I'll be honest. I really wanted to try this adapter out because my problem is with a lot of my older machines, I don't have frame masters. I don't have a lot of these, fancy upscaling machines. And I just want to be able to plug and play some of my games straight into the TV and play them. And I tried this out, and I was going to do a full dedicated episode on this, but my God, there's so many there on YouTube that I thought I'll just put in a new Game Stuff episode and I'll talk about it here. What are the results? Well, I'll say this much, and this is really funny. I couldn't get it to work at first. Hold up, because I wrote to Castlemania Games. I'm like, I can't get this adapter to work. And he's like, I've heard this from 1 or 2 other people. Just click it in. And the thing is I was scared to really click it in the back of the GameCube. I thought I was going to break it, but you'll hear a little click sound. It'll eventually go in. And I hooked it up to my TV, and it looks really great. Before, I'd be always playing on component video cables. I had the component video cables. They're kind of rare for the GameCube. I got them right away. I ordered those things right away because back in the day when the GameCube came out, I had a component-ready TV. And so I've always played on my Sony Wega in the other room through components, and it looks really good on that TV. And I would say that this looks equally, if not a little bit better, on a high-definition TV. The Sony Wega is a standard definition TV, but it does a lot of fancy action in there, and it makes it look really, really nice. And I want to say this is a really good device, and I really had a lot of fun playing it. The one thing that really surprised me, I have a Game Boy Advance adapter for my GameCube to play Game Boy Advance games on the GameCube. I got that years ago when it first came out. I always loved it then. In a way, it was almost kind of like the Nintendo Switch. You could play games on the go and then bring them home and play them on the on the console and the TV. It kind of was like the beginning of that when you started to think of that. But that's the one thing that I want to say is I played these Game Boy Advance games, running through the GameCube, running through the HDMI onto the TV, and get this. Looked pretty good. I was like, wow, I was playing like Advance Wars and things like that. I was like, great, I can play this way. And it was really a lot of fun. So for me, I gotta say, I was sent this review copy. I really liked it, but it is $150. Okay, so it's a bit expensive, I think. I think it's one of the more expensive adapters, but to get these frame meisters and all these other things, they cost a lot of money as well. So it's up to you guys. I'll put a link down below for sure, so you can at least check out the website and see if it's for you. The GameCube high definition adapter, but make sure you have a Generation 1 GameCube. That's very important with the AV outs and kind of the component outs, because the adapter plugs into both ports in there. So absolutely. Okay, this is really cool, and this is something that I really want to talk about. And I'm going to talk about one of my favorite comic book series, because it was a 4-issue series in 1984 to 85. And I read these the very second that they came out on the stands. I used to go up to this local little pharmacy up the road. I used to pedal my bike up there, and there used to be this little stand of comic books, and every Monday they put new comic books on. That's how I got my comic books. And if you didn't get that issue that day, well, you lost it. They didn't have any more stocked. So I would go up, and they'd only have 1 or 2 per issue, if even that. It was usually one of every issue. And one day when I went up there, I found this comic book, and these are my originals right here. I found this comic right here. It's called Machine Man. And I just was like, what is this all about? It was so fascinating for me. And I guess there was this classic superhero called Machine Man back in the day created. And I'm not going to open these up. Because these are my originals. I bought the graphic novel off eBay that brought them all together. I had to track this down because I found these issues the other day. Oh, sorry, like a couple weeks ago. And I just was like leafing through them. Like, look at these covers. Look at these covers. This is the cover 1. So you kind of, Machine Man's being made there. This is the cover 2. Machine Man's getting, betterly created. And here he's almost back together. And here he is. He's fully back together. And this series was so important for me as a kid. It's only a 4-issue miniseries. And as I said, now I can kind of show it to you. Here is the collected version of it. And this is very old. You can't find this anymore. And I was just like, I love this original miniseries so much that I would love to have the collected version just so I can read it again. And to be honest with you, it's really crazy. 1984 we're talking about here, folks. I still have it pretty well memorized because I just read it over and over and over as a kid. And it's about an old robotic superhero called Machine Man that is reawakened. He is refound in the year 2020. That's when the comic book takes place. And let me say, in 1984, 2020 seemed a long way away. Nowadays, it's not that long away. And I just want to show you some of the artwork in here. This is phenomenal stuff. And these group of junkers find him and put him back together. And then he's being hunted down by this corporation, somebody from his past. And I'm not going to say anything if anybody actually wants to read it, but look at the artwork is just so phenomenally good. It really is incredibly detailed, and I think definitely one of the many comics that inspired me as a kid. Like, let me show you some stuff. Like, here, look at some of this. Look at the detail here. Look at the detail. If I get really look, it is amazing. I'm sorry, I'm really I'm drooling a little bit over the artwork, and it's to do with also the Iron Man of 2020. And that was a really big deal. So they have a big confrontation, and there's It's basically a corporation versus the Junkers, and it's really an amazing story. And I was so happy to get this again. And wow, like when I think back to 1984, whoa, man, that's like 34 years ago. It's just phenomenal that it's been that long ago. And I bought that comic that long ago, 34 years ago. Wow. Anyways, another comic book artist I have not had a chance to talk about enough on the show is Mobius. Jean-Gerard Mobius. One of my favorite artists of all time. And back in the 80s with, Marvel Comics, he released some graphic novels of his, his famous collections. And I've been trying to get those again, and they've gone up quite a lot in price. And there was one that one of my friends down the street had. It was called the Airtight Garage. And I just would always stay at my friend's place. This is the same guys that had Phantasy Star as a kid. And I would go over there and anything that I didn't have, I would for comic-wise, I would just sit and pore over and read and memorize. And so the Airtight Garage was like, I remember I was like, the work in it, the artwork in it was stunning. And I'm not saying anything because this is one of my favorite artists of all time. A lot of time has passed since then, maybe 30 years since I saw this last graphic novel. And I picked it up off eBay. And I was leafing through it. And to be honest with you, the artwork is really good. It's not mind-blowing. It's really, really nice, but it's not as... I think back, a kid in the 80s was really shocked and blown away with this stuff. I mean, I don't think you'd seen, we weren't overloaded with different artists and like we are now. There's so much artwork in the world. You're just like, boom. And I think the level of art has gotten better over time. And I'm not knocking him. Jean-Gerard is like the best. He is the best. And I love every single thing he's done. But I honestly, this is almost a compliment to artists in general. I think people have become a lot better at art in time, and as I say, I'm not knocking him. His work is incredibly nice, but it didn't blow me away like it did in the late 80s when I first saw it. When I first saw it, I was like, whoa, man, this is mind-blowing. Where now I looked at it, I was like, oh, it's pretty good. Okay, on to some movies, and some of these have a humorous thing to them. Here's one. It is called Lair of the White Worm. This is kind of like a horror movie. It's got Hugh Grant in it. It's got a kind of a witch woman style character and the occult per se. And the interesting thing about this is, this is my recollection. I think in 1988, I worked in a comic book shop. Only for the summers, I'd kind of stock comics and do that very rudimentary stuff. I must have been, like 13, 14 years old, somewhere in there. And I remember the guys in the store talking about this movie. And they were talking about this one scene. And I remember going, well, what are you guys talking about? They're like, oh, no, nothing. Because I was a young kid. They didn't want to tell me about some, sexually perverse, violent scene in a movie, which, of course, I can appreciate. I wouldn't want to say that in front of a younger person either. And so, being a younger person, I was fascinated. Like, oh, my God. And I never forgot the name of the movie, Lair of the White Worm. So when I got older, I definitely was, I think, where was the first time I downloaded it back in the day. And I was just like, I don't know what it is about this movie. It's really, in a lot of ways, it's not good. But they don't make movies like this anymore. And I just appreciate how weird this movie is. It's surreal. It's surreal and strange and weird. And I always feel bad recommending these style of movies that I really love, because I'm like, man, I recommend Buckaroo Banzai and people come back and want to murder me. Where this movie, if you get a bit of free time and maybe you want to buy it or download it, I don't care how you get it. I want to get the physical, real copy finally and support it because I really like it. Will you like it? I don't know. Taste is so subjective these days. It really is. If you like weird horror movies, occult movies of the 80s that are strange and interesting. I remember me and Kim watched it, and she'd never seen it, and I'd never seen it all the way through. This is years ago. Like, I mean, watching it all the way through in one setting. We loved it. I remember we were like, damn, that was so weird and cool. Anyways, Lair of the White Worm. Check it out, maybe. Let's go back to 1982. I remember getting all the Matchbox toys of this, and it's for a movie called Mega Force. And I think this is the Japanese import of it. I think I got it off Amazon. I got this a little while ago, and I was saving it for this new game stuff to talk about it. I'm going to crack it out, and I'm going to watch it again. This is about an elite task force that is ridiculous. It is ridiculous. We're talking the 80s. Huge mullets, military style, motorcycles that turn into flying vehicles. It's ridiculous. It's over the top. It's dumb. It's overacted. It's got a great soundtrack. And it is a movie from my youth that nothing says like the early 80s, 1982, like Megaforce. This movie is for any older people out there. And if any of you are watching that know this movie, please write below and say, yes, Megaforce or whatever. Just let me know that I'm not alone, because the older I get now, the more alone I feel, like liking a movie like this, because I feel like nobody else knows what the hell this is. And I feel like I always like doing these episodes. Sometimes I feel like a crazy man coming in going, yeah, Lair of the White Worm and Megaforce. But there's some things that I really, really like. There's this beautiful, I've talked about it before, little bookstore up the road from me and Kim. And, maybe once a month we like going in there. And this is a treasure. And I really recommend supporting your local little bookshops. I really recommend that. This is like a treasure trove of things. So I go in there and look at this. Like, what's the price in this book here? This is like $2. It's Dragons of Autumn Twilight. This is the first Dragonlance novel, and this is very symbolic for me. I always remember seeing this in the 80s, 90s. I always remember seeing this on bookshelves, and for Dungeons and Dragons modules. And I'm like, they had the entire book series. So I just snagged the first book, and I'm like, okay, this is symbolic. Couple of bucks. Really like to get that. This is kind of neat. I love another 80s movie, Time Bandits. And this is Time Bandits, the movie script. I got this for $5. Really. And this is amazing. It's all the artwork of the movie and the storyboards and the script and by Terry Gilliam. I mean, this is great, man. This is absolutely great. And all his wild sketches. What a creative genius he is. And I love all of his movies so much. I think there's so much in there there's a lot to absolutely love. That's why I say go to these smaller bookshops. You'll be surprised. And I just go and start digging, and I find gold every time. Well, at least gold to me. Finishing off with a couple of records here, a couple of vinyls, and one of them is Southern Cross. I was almost about to say Genesis Climber and the Speed Up. I meant to say Super Dimensional. Southern Cross. This is a series that took place. It came out after Macross in Japan. Macross being a really great anime show. This is another anime show from the early 80s. It was turned into the second part of the Robotech franchise, and they changed the entire script quite a lot, but that's not what this is about. This is about the music, and it was so amazing to get this. And I just love that opening song, Deja Vu, and I honestly like the background music of this. I used to have the tape. Somebody made me a copy of all the OST in the 80s, and when I was part of this anime group in Victoria, they sent me it on tape, and I used to listen to it over and over again. And man, I was blasting this the other day, and I was just like, man, I even was wiping away the anime tears of the 80s, and it's a very cultish show, the original, and it didn't do very well. It bombed, but somehow it's still in my heart all these years later. It really is. This is the last thing to talk about. It's the last thing to talk about. I never normally show any of these kinds of things in my new game stuff episodes, because I usually stick with anime and stuff like that, video games and all that. But this is I finally got my favorite vinyl of, for my favorite punk band of all time, the Dead Kennedys. Give me convenience or give me death. I had this on tape, then I bought the CD, now I have this. In my skateboarding youth days in the late 80s, this was the soundtrack for my skateboarding and for my rebellion against whatever I was rebelling against back then. I love this. And Jello Biafra is the best, singer of punk, and they are one of the best punk bands of all time. And I think they're absolutely incredible. I blasted this the other day. I was blasting Police Truck the other day, and there's so many interesting songs on here, and I've got to get Frankenchrist. That's another album that they created that I have to pick up. So, okay, we're at the end of another new Game Stuff episode, and I really had a lot of fun talking about this stuff. I hope you guys stuck around to the end. I always feel so bad that some of these episodes go on for quite a bit of time, but there's quite a lot of passion that I want to talk about in here. There's I think you can tell that by the way I talk about all this stuff. This all means a lot to me. I really enjoy the hobby of music and video and books, and I just love all media, really, and I think I got some really cool stuff this month. So anyways, guys, until next time.